Are we live? Now we're live. Hey, we're live. This is Brent Leary. This is Friday I don't know, what, 6th? Man, that means next Friday is going to be Friday the 13th. Huh. Better not get ahead of myself. Hey, it's a small biz breakdown time. Noon Eastern, 9 Pacific or whatever that is. And I'm Brent Leary. And contrary to maybe popular belief, I'm actually happy right now. Well, kind of happy. Matt Stafford, my favorite quarterback who plays for my favorite team, won the MVP award. So at least I have something to look forward to, because it certainly ain't the Super Bowl this year. But anyway, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm happy to introduce the crew. Always starting to the furthest west we can in these continental United States. It's Leland from Oregon. Hey, Leland.
Hey, Brent. Good to be here. I'm sorry to hear that your team didn't make it. It's kind of crazy around here because the closest football team is the Seattle Seahawks, and so people are in a frenzy. They're frothing. They're waiting for the Super Bowl. They're hopeful in this area.
Yeah. Thanks for the detailed report of the area and their frothiness there, Leland. Appreciate that. Let's keep moving, though. Let's go Gary, Indiana. I just like saying going to Gary. I feel like, maybe I should put on a fake afro and say that, but my afro days have long passed. But we're going to Gary, Indiana to see Pierre Du Bois. Hey, Pierre.
Good. I was going to do it again. Good morning. And keep forgetting. I'll just say hello. Hello.
How are things in Gary?
Things are a little bit cold, but doing okay.
You know where I think it is also a little bit cold? Because this is a first. I don't believe I've ever seen mystical, magical Madam Mike drop from Medina wearing like a fur coat inside, but it's even a tailor. What's going on here?
Right? I'm wearing this like slightly furry vest, and I'm like, it's cold, but it's beautiful. It is sunny, and the snow looks like little glitter diamonds.
Wow, little glitter diamonds.
Yeah, all the more magical.
Let's just see if there are any little glitter diamonds in our nation's capital, where we go to visit Mr. Smile himself, Shashi Bellamkonda. Hey, Shashi.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you all. Need a little warmth from this 10 days of cold that isn't stopping anytime soon.
That's not a good thing. I won't tell you then that it's going to be 60 degrees and sunny here in Atlanta. Maybe you can glean some of that warmth coming in from me. I don't know.
Yes, we're glad you're happy today.
Yeah, it's a rather unique occasion, but hey, it is what it is. Take advantage of it. All right, as we traverse all the way to the East Coast, to that, I can't say it's a mystical magical, but I can say it's the nation's vacation capital. I still think it might be a little bigger than that, but we'll just stick with the nation. It is the one and only Ramon Ray.
Hey, Brent. Hey, everybody. It's the vacation capital of the world, just to keep correcting you as you say it wrong each time, but that's okay. Vacation capital of the world, vacation capital of the world. VCAL, if you want to have it better, that VCAL, vacation capital of the world. Good to be everybody. And Leland, I hope you're well. Family is blessed. Shasha, I hope you're well and thriving. And even sorry it's so cold for you, but the warmth is coming in here. It's always good hanging in with you and the man of analytics prowess and more. And Brent, the host with the most and knows about sports and something that I don't know anything about. I'm the guy who messed up bringing the Dallas Cowboys to the horse-shaped shoe thing, thinking that was Cowboys, and it was the Colts, I think, during the NFL honors, escorting them in Museum of Natural History in New Jersey. That's how much I don't know. And it was the team ownership, and I was highly embarrassed. I'm like, sorry, let's go to the other table. Good day, everybody. This is a small biz breakdown. What's up, Brent?
That was quite a breakdown there.
Yes, sir.
If you ever know anything about the Indiana Colts, just ask the guy that's in Indiana.
Because of Indiana Colts, like Indiana the team. Got it. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Got it. Okay.
All right.
That's
all right.
Got it.
So this is about the time I ask each and every one of you, how you doing? It's been a long week. A lot of stuff going on. I'm not even talking about me and my house. I'm just talking about in general. So I digress. Who wants to say how their week was first.
Shashi, go Shashi. Tell us, please.
I've been publishing a lot of articles. One thing that really thrills me is as and when I hear news, I'm publishing, and that's gaining a lot of attention. So I'm really happy about that. AI definitely helped. I don't have to go talk to a web developer anymore. I can style it in any way that I want and post it. That's good. But what I'm noticing while I'm writing these notes is that there's a lot of M&A, meaning the smaller companies that in the last 3 to 4 years have developed some AI related software. Bigger companies are buying them a lot, like UiPath just announced Work Fusion, right? So things like that are exciting. But at the same time, I'm not looking at my 401k because
You
I
can look at
think,
it today, at least.
yeah, people make assumptions, right? They're thinking like if companies are going to spend so much, and by the way, thanks to all this group, and it's a strange phenomenon. When companies lay off people, the stock price goes up. When companies want to spend on AI quite a lot, the stock price goes down. Go figure that one out, right? Yeah, that's my week, Brent.
All right. Who wants to go next? Who wants to share? Evena.
Well, as you guys know, I got tired of reading surveys and I decided to see how many people would share what's going on in their life. So thank you all for sharing that what's working survey. The responses are few so far. So people, it is a little asking you to share and rant and vent. But on the good side of things, I also asked people to connect with me and to do a video call with me, and so that we can talk. And that made it a really great week. I had like a lot of interviews, had a lot of great conversations with people, and I was really looking for those positive stories, and I got some. And if time permits, I'll share some of those.
Very cool. Looking forward to hearing some positivity around here. Speaking of positivity, what about you, Pierre?
Good question. This week went by a little fast for me. I'm still setting up for a couple of webinars later on in the year, and one actually a workshop. This sounds a little self-promotional, but I'm going to throw it in anyway. Marketing Analytics Summit, which is going to be in April. I'm actually working on a workshop for them. I did this last year, but naturally because of AI and all sorts of other little things have crept in, I'm actually reconstructing the workshop to be a little bit better with the AI parts as well and working that in. So it's taking a little bit. So this week went by as a blur. I'm still kind of thinking far out, but I think part of the reason that this week went for a blur for me is just because thinking far out, you start overlooking what's going on during the week. But I am still looking forward to that, and then also teaching as well too. I'm an adjunct for Champaign College. I picked up the course again for this year for doing art programming for them, which will start in March. So got a lot of stuff in the fire, just kind of trying to get to it, and then looking up and realizing that the week has been a blur.
Did you say Champaign College?
Champlain.
Oh, I was going to say they got a college for Champagne. That'd be kind of cool to check out.
I have a beer college next.
Mr. Ramon Ray.
Yeah, I'm feeling good, Brent. I think, again, microcosm of me. I'm not speaking for everybody in the world as I can do, as I often do. And I'm not speaking for all people in the USA as I can do if you wish me to. But just focus on me, Brent. Really, I feel good, man. It's been, as I've shared before, I'll say it again because we have new audiences. It's been a slow season post-COVID. I know it's been a while, but still, it's been a slog, a slow for me. But I think the seeds I planted last year, 2025, are now taking root. And so my own business, as far as my own personal brand, online shows, brand representations, I'm doing coaching, which I never thought I would do before. All that is growing. I'm seeing things slowly. It's no hockey stick, but it's on the up. So me personally, I'm okay. But I know as I see Evena, she represents the small business owner. Yeah, it's not great for everybody. But again, as we shared last week, I think it's not a tsunami of negativity. If Anthropic can poke fun at you know, AI, then it must be a good day. So yeah, that's how I feel.
Okay. Well, we are going out west, not necessarily for the least, not necessarily for the best, but we are going out west to see what's going on with Mr. Leland McFarland.
It's it's mixed bag. So I mean, I'm starting to prep for taxes, and so you're starting to see the bill that comes with taxes, and it's this first full year of doing business, and it's a shock, when you get that like bill for taxes, and you're just like, oh, and I haven't even gotten through everything, but it's like that initial like amount, and it's a shock. It's a shock to the system, and I'm gonna have to, I'll get used to it, but it's still that oof, reaction, guttural reaction to some of the stuff that it's like business owners, they get hit hard by taxes.
Yeah.
But on the good, I've been really working into vibe coding and working on a plugin, a little side project, and I've gotten really used to vibe coding and really hit a good vibe, I guess you could say, a good groove. And I even got to a point where because I use ChatGPT, I hit a point where I started breaking ChatGPT. It was more like the chat was so long that it was crashing the and I had to move it to a new chat because it was just so long. But yeah, it's kind of cool to learn a new skill like that and be able to see fruit from that.
Hey, Leland, can I just share something with you all? Leland, particularly you. I tried vibe coding for the first time. I think most of you all are geeks in some way. I think I'm not. I don't like the coding aspect. But Leland, I was disappointed because I didn't get anywhere. Like I made the code though. I got code made. So I get the idea, but I don't need a tech help right now. But I'm just excited because I do. Brent, I understand how people are saying, especially if you're a coder, being able to prompt it and you know what you're doing, man. But I didn't know like how to make it executable or how to make it. I couldn't make it do anything because I don't know anything about coding. So I think I missed some container or something. GitHub. It was trying to. I just did. I don't even understand. So I'm gonna probably reach out to a phone call. AI alone, since I don't know anything, I couldn't bridge the gap towards like double clicking and have it a simple game like people are talking about or making a web services. I got the code. I don't know what to do with it, but I'm excited because I see the potential. So,
hey, we're gonna see each other next week, so we can talk. Cool. Then.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Zoho.
Oracle's next week.
Oh,
yeah.
Zoho's like I think in 3 weeks or 2 weeks.
It's the 17th to the 19th. It's the week after what happens next week.
Larry said he wanted to talk to me and Leland about some things. Shashi, don't worry what it's about, but like him, maybe some $1 million thing he wants our input on. So
yeah, I wonder we're going to. All of us are going to probably get together so often in the next few months that we'll get tired of seeing each other's faces, I guess.
Never. Shashi, I could see your face all day.
Let's move on.
That's what you're here for, Brent. So you're the guardrails of the group, Brent. You're the one. Children, come back.
If I'm the guardrails.
How was your week, Brent? You ask all of us how our week is. How was your week?
Yeah, this is probably not the best week to ask.
In the middle of a construction zone. I guess.
Besides that, Brent, if you took that out, Brent, and everything was perfect. Brent had a major issue in his home, but besides that, Brent, how was your week? Try.
That's a pretty big besides. I'll try next week and see how it goes. All right. Now I had dropped this into our messenger chat thing. This was a snapshot, just a snapshot, a moment in time on the CNBC website homepage. Stocks are under pressure again with NASDAQ on pace for a worst 3-day slide since April. That was one of the things. Software experiencing most exciting moment as AI fears hammer the stocks. That's not necessarily my idea of an exciting moment, but okay. Bitcoin drops below 67,000 as sell-off intensifies and pessimism grows about the crypto's function. Google parent Alphabet shares fall 5% after earnings beat. Here's what happened. And another thing that wasn't captured on this, but it came out around that same time. The amount of layoffs that were announced in January of this year was like the highest since 2009. And y'all didn't mention any of that as you talked about what was your week was like. That's what was interesting to me just now. All the stuff that's going on externally, and it wasn't necessarily positive sounding. You guys didn't care about it at all, which is interesting to me. You knew all that stuff was going on, but yet in itself, that didn't really register. Is that how a small business people have to make it through what's going on right now?
Since no one's jumping in,
I think Ivana wants to say something.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, I'll go jump in. So my point is that I think, yeah, Brent, I think two levels. I think one, as Shashi pointed out again in our private chat, bringing in Zoho again, Zoho being a private company, this $1 billion, whatever, tons of money, doing great. They can weather all this stuff. All this stuff is gravy to them. I say that because in the same way, there is the game of stocks and all that, as we know, right, or not. So that's that. But I think to answer your question directly, yeah, Brent, if in my little world, I'm trying to make 500,000, 4 million, 25 million, and that's going well, my leaf blowing company, my snow blowing company, my whatever I'm doing is going well, yeah, Brent, I'm good because I don't need a lot to make 50 million, 10 million, 3 million. So I think that's why the stock, as you know better than me, Brent, that's a big boys, big girls game. That's a different game, and the headlines are going to be a different barometer than what the real regular people, how it affects us, especially in AI. So that's my 2 cents, but someone smarter than me maybe jump in and say it better than I said. But I think that's why we didn't say it. And I think stocks are important, but it's not like stocks of where the housing market went down. These are $1 billion games of AI and tech, which are in a fluctuation right now. That's why I see it. Here?
We're hearing a bit of that echo all of a sudden. I don't know if anybody else is hearing that, but
I can hear a little bit of that.
Anyway, yeah. So who's going to follow that up?
I muted myself, so it's not me to say, I muted myself. We can live get it done. I muted myself.
It's Shashi. I just muted Shashi, and all that sound went completely away.
Yeah, I figured it was.
Shashi, you might want to try getting that fixed a bit. So we'll go. So yeah, who wants to go next while Shashi is?
I'll jump in a little bit. I think part of it is this whole discussion about a K economy is a big part of it as well too. I think it plays to what Ramon was saying. I don't think it's 100% not caring as much as it is if you don't feel, if you, or let's say even your customers, are not necessarily feeling like the stock market is really impacting how it impacts, but it doesn't impact directly how you go about planning your work, planning your business. I think the challenge that comes in is trying to figure out, it's now really figuring out how does that news really fits into what you're trying to do. I think this is a little bit more that K economy type of influence, where if you're in the top 10% or so, of course you're going to pay attention to the stock markets and a lot of things that go on. And I think if you're in that lower part of the K, I think you do notice it, but you don't really, unless you have stocks, unless you have something in that market, I don't think that you pay attention to it as much. Or I think that it's sort of this, or even let's make it even better. Let's say that you are a small business and you don't have a contract with a publicly trading company. I think that type of news becomes almost noise a little bit. So it almost feels like there's a little bit of a disconnect. But I think part of that is just, I think part of this K economy discussion that comes up a lot when we talk about what's going on in the economy, I think it's hitting home in terms of how we listen and how we pay attention to things.
Ivana?
Boy, amen to what Pierre said, because as you were talking about K economy, I got, my utilities are, what do you call that? Direct pay, like from your bank, and then you get a notification that it went through, right? I got a notification that my utilities went up by like 30%. Now, yes, it's cold. It's colder than it's been, but my gas bill was up 30%. And one of the first things I thought of is, oh my goodness, how are the restaurants doing? How are some of these businesses doing? Because that can be a really big cost increase. So like those are the things that were top of mind for me. So more practical, more mundane for sure.
How good a person is she to get a 30% increase in a bill of hers? And her first thought was to the small businesses in her local community. That would not have been my first thought. I'm just
Well,
saying.
I wouldn't say my first thought, obviously. I was, you know, if you were to watch me open up that email, you would have seen like large Mike Tomlin eyes, Mike Tomlin googly eyes. Yeah, look kind of like that.
Yeah, Ramon, you know who she's talking about, right?
Sounds like a Christian music artist. Mike Tomlinson is a Christian
Tomlin. Mike Tomlin was the coach of the Steelers for like 20 some years.
God bless.
And he's known, Pierre, for just having bug googly eyes on the sidelines. And that's what I looked like. I had googly eyes.
Only there was a picture of that.
Yeah. It was just,
Nice.
you know, like you can just imagine the email comes through and it says like whatever the gas, you know, energy, whatever. Oh yeah, the First Energy, the people who had the largest political scandal in the history of Ohio of just stealing money from, you know, customers. Yeah, that bill says you know, your payment went through, and I'm like, oh, so you know, you see the thing and you're like, oh, and then you're like, oh, like that. So I was just imagining how, you know, several thousand other people got that same email.
Yeah, I mean, how much of that impacts your small business? Like when you get things like that hit you, and this is a personal thing, but is it easy to like brush it off and then go into business kind of mode, or does that just carry over in everything you do at this point as a small business person?
I recently had that kind of sort of happen to me. A service that I use decided to get me, you know, upgrade me without my consent. I didn't, you know, didn't ask for it.
I think
They
we know
just
what
said,
service that is. I think you mentioned that
I
before.
mentioned it. I mentioned it. I'll just keep the name. But you know, the price went from $44 to $330, and you know, same reaction. My eyes popped out, and I was like, "What the heck happened?" And so, you know, I emailed them and I said, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Yeah, we just, you know, we think that, you know, you're not, you know, qualified for the lower tier, so you have to use the bigger tier." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm out. I'm gonna go use another service. Give me my money back, because unless you can articulate how you know, I didn't agree to that." And I had AI actually help me write it, and they refunded me. So I mean, I guess, you know, I went through that, and so my reaction is I'm gonna try someone else. I'm gonna go to a different service. And you know, some people can't do that. I know that in some areas you can choose your power company. In my area, I can't choose my gas company for natural gas. I can't choose the electric company. I could choose internet to a certain degree, but it's kind of like, well, you could have this really awesome service, or you could have these really low quality services, and they all cost about the same. So you go with one. But that would be kind of hard to not be able to do that and be like, oh, my prices have increased. I've got to stick with you because it's a monopoly. My heart aches for small businesses that are in that situation.
Have any of you tried to increase whatever your price for your services are? Like after you see all these increases of all these things, services you use, and can be exponentially, not just like an additional nickel. You know, like doubling what you're talking about is like almost a 10x. Have you ever thought about trying to increase your service price?
Oh yeah.
How are you able to do that? Will people accept that?
Well, again, I think this goes to the vastly different between the larger business and how they're doing it, recurring revenue, and small. In my case, Brent, so again, I'm new. Let's take the coaching that I'm doing. I have an online community. The first 10, 20 people in there, they will always get that same rate. But now that I tested it, I've proven it, built it on them, the next 50, next 100, that'll be different rates. So if that's helpful. So even other coaches I work with, Lamar Tyler, nobody, and the small side, rarely have anybody change the price on me midstream. It's the next set who comes in, if that's helpful. Now for the big brands, yeah, they'll send out all 50 million people. It's up by 2%. Take it or leave it. But I can't afford to do that. I could never tell. Brent signed up for the service. He's paying $500 a month or $19 a month. And I'm like, now, Brent, it's 30. He's out. Because I'm not a must-have. Most of the time. I'm not a utility. So, but others, please.
I'll say from my end of it, from the beginning, I had to move away from hourly to actual packages for people, which made me think about what I'm providing to the customers each time that there's a price increase. I think as small business owners, I think to what Ramon just said, and then definitely what Brent, what Leyland just mentioned, you have to really message what it is that the person is spending on. What is the value for this increase? That way people can understand what they honestly are getting. What they're getting is a little bit more, and they're going to make comparisons. That's the tough part, I think, that comes out of all of this. They're going to compare you against another competitor and see what it is that they're getting out of it. So if you're able to explain that increase and to have something of value to them that the customer can look for, I think that's the part that you need to have to kind of smooth things over a little bit. Basically, I think that's a must-have. And I like the fact that with Leyland and Ramon, that they brought up the whole idea of a utility sort of has a monopoly on people and can make a rise and kind of just shrug their shoulders and go, it happens. We're seeing that here in Indiana as well with utilities, the same way. Even brought up about the heating as well. That's becoming a hot issue.
No pun intended, right?
Yeah, no pun intended. Yeah,
that's true. I think the small businesses should not fall into the trap of all these, especially software companies that say, like, if we can increase the price and get away with it, why not? Right? I think for small businesses and for large businesses, the principle should be enhancing and providing new value, like you said, Pierre. Like, you can't just say, like, I'm going to provide the same service, but things have gone up, so I'm going to increase it. It's going to be like, hey, we are actually upgrading you to Ramon XYZ version, which means that you will get 10% more impact than you're getting now. For the costs of doing this special service, we're going to increase your price by 15%. You never get that. You just get an email saying, hey, by the way, we are going to start charging you more from next month, not even asking you for your permission. Especially, Leyland, your example, the company that is buying up a lot of software companies, their business model is only this. It's so painful for people to move away from our platform, so let's charge them without making any enhancements. I think that's wrong and greedy.
Even did you answer that one?
Yep.
All right. Just want to make sure I got it. It's really interesting. All this week I've been on a lot of these conversations. And as much crazy stuff is going on around the AI thing, we're actually able to talk about stuff business related that wasn't at all about AI. How often are you able to get away from AI and talk about other things that are going on with your business that aren't specifically AI focused? Is it hard? Are you able to? What are those things that are not all about AI that you're able to talk about and do something about personally or in your small business that has no AI at all?
Mindset and family. When that's one thing that comes up quite a bit. It depends on the circle, depends on where we're going. I know we lean towards tech here, but I think that at the age of 53, having 2 grandchildren, having a sister who was just in the hospital briefly, just for something she was going through. Point being is that this is life. Each one of us, looking at the squares here, each one of us, our friend John Lawson, right? He's shared publicly he'll be in dialysis 2 times a week. So this is life, people. So I think that's the thing that I do talk about a lot, economy and all those things, but it's life. Where are we going? What are we doing? Are you spending time with that daughter you didn't spend time with for 10 years because you're building your business? Or is your son still have an addiction? Or you and your wife still split? Whatever the thing is. Or some of us, do you have a flood in your house? Sorry. Whatever it may be. So life is life.
Can we move on, please?
Mindset and family, those things. Besides,
Yeah.
What are the other things that are un-AI related that have you questioning or doing something about it? It has nothing to do with AI right now.
Relationships.
Okay.
Right. And so I am going to bring up my little conversations in my survey. I think it's interesting that even though neither my survey nor my discussion guide had any mention of AI in it at all.
Mm.
I think it's interesting that the people I spoke with, somehow it had eked into the conversation. But more than anything, it's the idea that relationships are what are important. The direct conversations, the building those relationships, and AI's job is to make more of those moments possible.
Who else has something that's not AI focused?
I'm going to build a little bit on what even Ramon mentioned. And they're right about the relationships and life happening. I think the toughest part of entrepreneurship is as you kind of go along, there's going to be these mile markers. You got to sit and just go, what is serving me in these conversations that is helping the relationships, and what are the things that are no longer helping? I think you have to kind of sit down and do that at some point. I think it's hard at the beginning. I've had people I've talked to about entrepreneurship, and the thing I usually tell them is, at least the first 2 years, it's hell. But it's hell because you're trying to figure out how certain things interact with each other, and then you can start really managing what you're doing. But I would say at 2 years after you start it is a good point where you need to kind of look and say, okay, what's happening here? What's working? What's not working? And what is it costing me or other people to get to this point? And can we continue, or do we need to make adjustments? And I think that's something that everyone learns how to do. I think AI is forcing it because we're hearing so much about AI's impact everywhere. To your question, Brent, I think that's it's a great question because that impact is everywhere, but it's not hitting everything all at once in the same way. And I think we're trying to figure out how we are managing those other parts of our lives as well as other parts of our business where these things need to continue on despite the fact that Claude is taking over with Claude Code, or that the latest release is coming out from Copilot and everything else. Though, if you go up on X feed, you can hear those updates almost hourly, and people trying to say, "Hey, here's a new thing I discovered." That becomes noise. It doesn't become innovation that can lead you down a path.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
Okay. What I was gonna say is, a lot of the news that I put out on Small Business Trends is usually geared AI focused because that's a lot of where the news is. And it is interesting looking at the average small business owner. I go into there's a tea shop that my wife and I like to go to. We went to a bookstore. We got friends who are plumbers, electricians, stuff like that. And even though I'm reporting on AI a lot, AI, because that's where all the news is, it's not necessarily in the average small business. It's not like you see it heavily used. These are businesses that have been around for years. They've been doing it this way. They don't necessarily need to have everything rolled into AI to the point to where they have a kiosk in their business and is able to kind of automate 90% of their business or something like that, because you're always going to need people who are laying pipe for plumbing. You're always going to need people pulling wires, cables. You're always going to need the coffee shops, the tea shops. They're always going to need employees. And yes, you can add in a little bit of AI to be able to offset some of those mundane tasks. But for the most part, when you got a small business, you know, you got shops, you got plumbers, technicians, all these kind of the average small business person, most of the time it's going to be just an average person, and then it's going to be relationships, as you guys were talking about, with customers and building trust, and that's ultimately going to be your key to success, not necessarily the new AI that's just come out and can revolutionize your business.
One place yesterday, just like Ramon said, unfortunately, I had to spend 4 to 5 hours in the hospital, not for me, but for a friend of mine. No AI for the 4 to 5 hours, nothing. They may be using it for transcriptions and everything like that, but front of the house, there was absolutely nothing. In fact, one of the places where I thought AI could be used was while we were going into the hospital. There's a lot of snow, and because there's a lot of snow, there are no sidewalks. So another friend of mine was actually walking through the gate that closes in the parking lot, and the gate actually hit him. And I was thinking that's a good use of AI, where, you know, at least AI would recognize, hey, there's no car in my vision, and there's actually a human being, so I should not close, right? So things like that, but it'll take time. I mean, why would a hospital system change it until they got sued or they saw a lot of things, right? But they will depend on a vendor to come and sell them this solution. Just like the parking lot enhancements that are, is nowadays when you go to some of the newer ones, it takes a picture of your car. So whenever you pay it, you don't have to, you know, wave it, to get down and try to struggle with waving it in front of the scanner. It just reads your meter and knows that you paid for it, right? So things like that are important. And I was attending the Cisco AI Summit, and the guy who benefited the most about AI, he said something that is a message that everybody should hear. He said, your biggest strength is knowing what your customers want, knowing how to deliver that service to them, and AI is not going to do that for you. And the second thing he said is, like, don't go put all your stuff into like any LLM. That should be in your notes. It should be within your premises, because there is no, that is the property that you have, because otherwise LLMs will know everything. So I thought these two messages were very good, coming from Jensen Huang of NVIDIA. So,
Who? No, I'm just kidding.
Jensen's a smart guy, man. I love that guy. That guy's humility and just how he thinks and how he speaks. Wow. Ooh, I love it.
So that actually kind of poses an interesting question that I think me and the cold one, the bold one, Jonathan Rice Lawson, I'm legally obliged to say it like that from time to time. Sorry. When we were sharing some things in our little chat, and he had mentioned, you know, Apple, people are looking at Apple, their comeback, and thinking it's all about the iPhones and it's really about the Mac Minis because of the ability to run locally LLMs. And I literally had that conversation about a year ago, and I've been following this dude on YouTube, Alexander Ziskin or something like that, who he actually buys these kind of, I will say, relatively inexpensive Mac Mini machines and the Mac Studios and all these Mac things. And the latest one from last year, the Mac with the, I think it was the Mac Studio with the M4 processor. It allows you to put as much as 512. I know I'm geeking out. I'm sorry. It's got to go through this part of it. 512 gigabytes of RAM on this little box. And with that much RAM, you can literally take a lot of these pretty sizable LLMs, download it, run it right on your own local machine, so that you don't have to have your data in the publicly available LLMs. You could literally download whatever LLM you want, as long as it runs in the parameter of the hardware that you have, and it'll all stay. Your data stays local. Everything you download the LLM, and then you let it run on, and you're able to basically have your own private LLMs. And you're seeing a lot of people buy these Mac Mini kind of things. Now I have one, but I don't have the kind of one that I don't want to spend $10,000 right now on, because in order to really be able to run it and run it quickly and efficiently, you're going to have to get that big boy with the 512 gigabytes of RAM on it. And that's a lot of money. Like I said, 10,000, those suckers can go up to 15,000, but you're seeing people buy racks of these guys. And so you could have 4 Mac studios, like in your own little Mac farm, which means you could download all these, with the billions of parameters and all the different LLMs, and you can see how they run locally. And I immediately said, are we going back to the 90s? Because in order for that kind of stuff to run, Ma and Pa Kettle are not going to be trying to build those kind of things out just because they want to be able to run stuff local. No, remember back in the day in the 90s when local lands started out and people were buying PCs and they were trying to network their computers, and like these small business people, and they were buying stuff and installing software and getting these PC lands, and they had their little tech guy that was kind of handling all that for them. And then at some point, that thing called the cloud opened up, and you didn't have to run all that stuff locally. You didn't have to take care of all that and have to think about it. And we immediately started moving up there, and the little tech guy got left all by himself. Are we ready to go back to the little tech guy in order for us to run our LLMs? Because that means you're going to have to pay these guys as opposed to work with the ones in the cloud. Are we ready for that? Are small business people ready? Because you can actually have a machine that can run all this LLM stuff locally. Chances are you're going to have somebody who knows what the hell they're doing to get that stuff all up and running and keep it running. Or is this way too much for small business and we're just going to stay up in the cloud and not worry about that? What do you see going on?
You're not talking about OpenClaw, right?
No, I'm talking about having a machine or multiple machines that have so much RAM and so much capabilities that you could literally run all those public LLMs on your private machine and keep all your data and all the processing local, as opposed to paying your monthly fee so you can run all the credits that you need and put your data up there with everybody else's data. Are small businesses thinking that we'll be able to do this, go buy our own servers, have our data running locally? You don't have to worry about how much processing you're chewing up because it's all going to be local.
You're geeking out, Brent. Stop, Brent. That's
what I'm asking you guys. That's what I'm asking. That's what John Lawson thinks that's going to happen. That's what I'm asking you guys.
Come back to us. No, I think
actually, Ramon,
geek case, and I think sure people will do that, but I think if you look at what's happening now, we're just postulating. I think 90%, 95% of the average small business, all cloud-based. We don't want to do all that work, but some of the geeks might. Leland will, Pierre may. So I think that in certain cases.
Hey, what about me?
Well, you're not.
You're a geek too. You're a geek.
You're a different geek. Leland's the guy who will have the robots going up and down the ceiling like a Terminator movie. But most of us, 99%, we're going to be cloud-based, average people. But we're going to advantage, from what's happening for sure. But I think you're interesting, Brent. But I think that, for example, a small defense contractor, for example, small, $100 million, $200 million, small in that sector, that couldn't normally compete against Raytheon, she can hire a small team of people to scale them faster, scale them better, do some ninja stuff like they couldn't do 20 years ago. So that scenario I can see. But Pierre, you're not. What do you think?
I agree. I think here's the thing. Computers have always, whenever there's been a launch of features for computers, they've always had to think steps ahead. It's just like it would be no different if I was coming into, say, a Ford dealership. I'm going to use Ford. I want a pickup, and I end up with a heavy-duty pickup, but I'm not carrying heavy duty payload. I may be doing the light things with the family with it. I think what Brent has talked about is that there are more features now for options to have AI technically to have. He's absolutely right. There's more options to have AI models locally. I think business owners will, I think they will adopt at some point, but it's not going to be to the nth degree of I want to run a model. It may just be working with somebody who has capacity, who's maybe bought that type of computer and has that capacity for it. I think there's always going to be a middle ground that I think most business owners will fall under, where they don't need all the capability in-house, but there needs to be some things they need to do to keep up with things. Like, and it could be just as simple as I've met people that don't even use Zoom yet. And that kind of puts a barrier between communicating, for them to communicate with other business owners who are online and need to be able to share information to make real decisions. So there's always going to be this middle ground that's going to get sorted out. I just think it's going to take time to do that. I don't see business owners running AI models directly, like off the jump, but there can be a middle ground of what types of agents that business owners will deal with, where maybe some of that capacity will be of benefit. And I think that part will get sorted out as we see people try to manage agentic AI and thinking, maybe I don't need to be a programmer, but I need some capacity to have an agent that can do this back end work for me, so that way I can relax as a business owner and get more time back for myself.
I don't agree with both of you, Ramon and Pierre. I'll tell you why. And you heard it first here. The biggest computing company, forget the companies that exist today, is going to be NVIDIA. And the reason being, like, when you start using AI, like, try using any kind of AI processing on your phone when your signal is weak. Frustrating, right? Now, small businesses in the future, whether they know it now or not, are going to have a lot of sensors and a lot of physical AI. For example, when somebody comes into the Ford dealership here, they'll probably know who's coming and which representative should actually take care of them. And that's not going to be like today a text message to somebody who's sitting in the restroom saying, hey, your customer has come. It's going to be something that's well orchestrated. So it won't be small businesses building servers, but the providers, which may be, Brent, people who are going to become like AI enablers or AI technicians, who are going to come and install all these systems in your small business so that your small business keeps up with it.
Brent, but when?
Now,
are you saying in 2 years, or are you saying like in 15 years? Because I get your point,
2 years.
Shashi, but this is not even, I mean, I guess what I'm saying, I hear you, but it's like, I don't know, I guess I'm trying to get a parallel example to today. It's kind of like if you and Brent were arguing for everybody's going to be a vibe programmer. Great example. We're talking about it headlines, but I don't have the stats, but just my intuition, talking about the smaller businesses, we're not all vibe programming. Stop. It's a headline.
Let me ask you a question. How often do you change your computer?
Rarely.
Because you don't use it for like billing, you don't use it for transactions. Like,
I mean, because it's so fast now.
Like a small business would.
Years, maybe once every 10 years, 5
Right?
years.
Yeah. Small businesses get pitched about equipment constantly, right? And then when they see like dollars in their minds in going for a new expense, they're definitely going to change.
So here's this, then. I guess, Shashi, and then we'll let others talk if they want to talk. Other than that, I mean, you can just do it, and Brent can just go, have lunch, whatever. But the point being is that I guess, Shashi, and then we'll move on, is that I guess it depends on who. It depends on market, depends on the type of small business. So maybe you have a point, and they are being pitched on all kinds of services. And that point, if Brent meant Verizon coming and having a new offer or Stripe, and it's built in like that, sure, for the right business. I thought you meant most of us here. I'm not having something I'm running here. Sorry, I'm going to the cloud. But back to you, Shashi or Brent, or whoever.
I mean, what Jensen said is everybody should actually assemble a computer. Only then they'll know the power of doing it. When you
Everybody's not assembling a computer, Shashi, in the same way everybody has Wi-Fi. I didn't freaking go to Radio Shack and get the box and put it. I'm sorry. You and Brenner in this geek-minded, cloud-based, everybody's Leland world. Sorry, there's normal people like me and Ivana. We're not doing that. If it comes
wait,
to
hold on. This leads to a dichotomy in the world, almost very similarly to the K economy, right? There are people who think using ChatGPT is using AI, and there are people who actually know what is coming in the future. Now, the future doesn't mean that we are all going to become geeks. The future just means that we are going to say, like, whatever is going to affect our business and increase our earnings and give good customer service is going to be what people will do.
What you're trying to do in my last point, Shashi, you're trying to Gandhi me. And here's what I mean. You're trying to be like, you're the savant. You have this mellowed speaking, like it's so right because you're saying it. You can't pull that on me. Because you sound smarter than me doesn't mean you're right, Shashi. I'm sorry. I love you, Shashi, but I'm just having fun here, guys. I like to argue. Shashi could be right a little bit.
But you look more like Gandhi than me, Ramon.
That is true. But I meant honorable way. You know, the person who has that beautiful voice of sounds smart. But he must be right.
This conversation was good because this is exactly how small businesses should weigh, right? Like not really come and say like $200 for whichever LLM that you want without knowing what's in it for me. Where do I earn more money?
Yes.
Ramon does have the dulcet tones, though. I just thought I'd throw that in there.
I gotta put the right voice on. See, Shashi stayed calm. Shashi stayed progress. He got under my skin and pissed me off, so I couldn't like speak so calm. Shashi just kept a nice, calm demeanor and a smile.
So I don't think for the average small business owner, they're going to go out and get themselves a $15,000 PC. That would be more for like larger medium-sized businesses to large businesses, you know, that really have a need to make sure that their data is private. But I'm already seeing that you can spin up your own AI instances through Amazon AWS. So, and they have defense contractor, like government grade encryption. So the question would be like, why would I want to have something in house that if a fire were to happen, it's all gone, when I could just spin up an instance? And
a couple of reasons why some people might do that. Now, I don't know if a lot would do that, but there at some point it becomes cheaper, because if you're already paying like a couple $100 a month, and then you start doing something that gets real intensive, and those tokens are really flying off, that's all going to be an additional cost. So if you get to a certain point where it actually is cheaper to go out and buy something and run it all locally, there's going to be some folks that might do that.
I have a technical question. That's a clarifying question. You just brought it up, Brent. This idea of becoming cheaper. So I remember this week I've seen some videos. I think it had to do with Claudebot, right? So like the one is security that people are most concerned about, but the second thing that was a close second was price, because this power comes with, like, people were surprised. We were just talking about being surprised by a utility bill or a software bill. It's one of those things. This guy came back and said, oh my God, I got this like $400 bill for the power that he was using, but I'm not sure if he was doing that in the cloud. Like, are you saying that
that was all in the cloud?
So if you're in the cloud, you are paying by the token, whereas if it's downloaded, you're not?
Well, you're paying for the CPUs that you're spinning up and going through on the server that's at the data center somewhere. Whereas if you buy a machine and that machine is able to let you download the LLM and everything happens locally, all the processing, all that is local, then you're not paying anybody for what's going on up there.
I can't believe I'm going to say something about this topic, because like I know nothing.
I'll give you an example. Ivana, I was actually testing one of these like automated agents. 3 days I got a bill for $129. So
oh my God! This, you guys, is worth the price of admission. So like in the real world, right? I'm talking to small businesses every single day. These are like whatever. And let's bring up Zoho here for a minute. Many of them might have heard of Zoho CRM, but they didn't really know or understand that there was a Zoho One and that you could get like 50 some apps for like $37. And they were like, wow, I've never even heard of that, whatever. And I said, and because you're, let's say, a CPA, an attorney, a chiropractor, these are businesses where data privacy would be kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That becomes an excellent reason to choose Zoho because you are dealing with customer and client information. And now to bring that over, let's talk about an attorney, for example. I had an attorney who was a client who is also my attorney. He's an elder law attorney dealing with estate planning. He has had his own servers. So like he runs a certain kind of software that's got specific, client information on it. And that is in the office. And he pays a guy to come in and make that stuff. And he runs a paperless as much as you can be, which is unusual for an attorney. So, but that kind of stuff is living on that server. So I have to believe that, like, who mentioned it? Was it Pierre? Was it Leland? There are certain businesses where you get a lot of benefit from using AI. I could see that for an attorney. Absolutely. Right. Because now you may not need a paralegal. You may not need whatever. You can or somebody to go through these documents or whatever. It's a lot of boilerplate. Right. So I can see you're using AI, you're going to be using the power, and you need security. So a certain niche businesses, I can absolutely see doing that.
Yeah. We talked about at some point, just like when we were first going into the cloud and buying, software every month, monthly user, it was a lot cheaper to do that than to spend $20,000 on hardware and then bring in some person or people to actually hook it all up and get your network set and then actually, make sure all your data is safe and protected and all. At some point, those prices per month got so much that now you weren't really saving a whole lot like you thought you were, or at least that maybe you were initially were. And this AI stuff is going that same route. I mean, you're just going to spend more CPUs and consume more tokens. And unless those per token prices come down dramatically, it's just going to keep going bigger and bigger. So that's why you are seeing people take basically a consumer grade piece of machine like a Mac Mini or a Mac Studio. I mean, they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're great machines, but they're not mainframe like we were dealing with back in the day. But people, because they are able to put so much memory in them, in these pretty big hard, terabyte hard drives, and the GPU was really originally was for games. Who knew those things would be great for running LLMs and all this stuff? So all this consumer grade stuff now is able to do things that you would have never been able to do. And so you are seeing people buy them and starting to use them like that because it's getting too expensive to actually use the stuff in the cloud. And your data could be being mingled with other people's data. And so you are seeing people like even said, if your customer's data is the North Star, maybe you don't want it all getting mingled in with everybody else's stuff. And if you do have some money and you do have a guy that's a local person that can manage that for you, just like the PC and the LAN guy back in the day, there's going to be a market for it. I don't know how big it's going to be, but if you're really looking at the overall cost, not just now, but in the future, and you're looking at the privacy of your data, some people are going to make that jump. I just don't know how many, but how many of you would actually do it based on your business?
If I had a consultant, somebody to help me with all the tech stuff, sure. I guess my point is where I'm at, and again, dividing what type of business we are. For me, the talent being the creator, the spokesperson, Steve Hart of small business, as it were.
The Steve Hart of who? Who's that?
Kevin Hart, excuse me, Kevin Hart.
I was like, who's Steve Hart?
Kevin Hart of small business, Steve Harvey of small business. I want to focus on what I'm doing. But if I had that person, who was running operations and doing the cool stuff, absolutely. But I guess, again, that's who we're talking to. I would not be touching it. My thing with vibe coding yesterday, that has horrified me and given me, I was glad I did the code. I did a prompt, but I spent at least 2 hours doing the Python thing, DOS screens, all this stuff. And I'm like, where's Lee?
Oh yeah, that's right. You do have those DOS screens. All right. Evena, would you do it? Would you?
I actually have, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I can definitely be one of the Mac Mini people. And I'm going to tell you why. This is weird, right? And I don't know how many, we're an older little panel here. I can't, I have a 2019
Not Ramon.
Not Ramon. I have a 2019 MacBook Pro that runs like a monster champ. However, it still has an Intel chip, which means that I cannot download like some of these browsers. You need an M1. I'm 62 years old. So I'm kind of on this other side of my business. So where before buying a brand new machine and dishing out 5-6K on a monster machine that I know I'm going to use for the next 10 years and trick it out, suddenly is is that a thing? Am I going to be crunching data? Am I going to be, I'm already looking forward into my life and saying, So then I got to thinking and I'm like, well, what's a lower cost alternative that could solve this problem and give me some space to play? So all these other things, while they weren't relevant before, suddenly became relevant. So I guess what I'm saying is if you are needing to upgrade your machine, I might consider a little mini. Right?
A little mini? Isn't that like a double?
A double thing. I would consider a Mac Mini because I think I saw, I don't know. The one I saw was $600, but that does, I don't know if it's what I want. But still cheaper than 6,000. Right? So and if I understood that I can download this thing and I can, plug in, somehow figure out how to use it with my laptop, where it's not going to mess anything up. I could play with AI. I could do all the things. It would solve a problem for me. So that's me personally. Would I do it? I think I would. I wouldn't spend $10,000 on it. I'd spend maybe $1,000, $2,000 maybe.
Okay. You're probably going to wait a while until it gets to that point, but I get it. That's understandable. All right. Pierre.
Real quick, I'm sort of with even on this. Throughout my time, I always looked at replacing a laptop only when I'm starting to notice that there's certain hardware that I use that it's harder to upgrade. Really good example. Right now, I have a 5-year-old M1. Actually, it's going to be 6 as of later this year. So I'm actually looking at trying to replace it. Partly because
I'll take your old M1.
Yeah. But part of the reason is that I'm noticing certain software is starting to kind of gear towards some of them a lot. I hear we're even talking about with Intel. LM Studio works with the M chip apples. So if somebody was on Intel, they couldn't use that. I think you have to look very hardcore at what you're using and what you're intending to use. Is like I said, the analogy from, like I said, for pickups is a good example. You could probably afford a heavy duty F series, but how frequently are you really going to carry that much payload in it? And I think everyone thinks through that stuff with the computer. Keep good notes on things. So that way, when you sit down with yourself and make decisions, you can kind of say, maybe there's an alternative that will allow me to do X, Y, and Z with this software that I'm using regularly, and maybe at a cost lower than what I spent the last time I did a computer. The capabilities are better. There's more things you can do, but you really do need to kind of keep a little notebook and sit down with it to make that decision. And I think every business owner should be doing that to keep up with technology.
Leland, this is probably right up your wheelhouse. Would you do it?
I've actually looked into certain types. So like the language model to where I'm talking to ChatGPT. No, I've not really looked too much into that because ChatGPT, I use like 4.0 Lite or something mini or something like that, and it's super, super cheap. And I've not ran into a point to where it's like, man, this is really costing me a lot of money. And all the tools that I use don't allow for custom integration. So I can't add in my own LLM. All the tools are hardwired to Google, to OpenAI, to Claude. And I can't sit there and say, I want my own. I want to point it to this one. You use this one. So I'm not looking that. What I would really like is that if I could do image generation, and not just any image generation, because there are some models out there that you can download, but they still get like little iffy with the text, and it messes it up, and it's not it's not necessarily the best with that. I might do that with that, or text to speech. I've looked into that as well, and there are a lot of good options out there, and you don't need a Mac Mini for that one. You can actually install those on Windows or on Linux, and I've looked into those, but there are more hardware requirements when it comes to those. You need a lot more graphics card, and so it's like I got this beefy server, but it doesn't have a graphics card, or it has like the integrated graphics chip, so it's not necessarily the best for like image generation. And so it's like, yeah, I could do image generation. It'll take an hour to do an image, and it's not necessarily worth it for me to do that. Now, if I could take an old laptop that has a graphics card in it, and be able to patch it in and do all kinds of weird, cool coding things, then yeah, maybe.
All right, I think I know the answer to this one, but Shashi?
Yeah, I think one thing that I've learned in life is you should always think about what's tomorrow. Because what I learned 25 years ago, probably other than the actual experience, the technology wise, it's redundant. Like I was walking into technology after 10 years in hotels and starting off from the beginning, right? Like I'm talking about when email was first introduced, when Google first came into the picture. So my lesson is like, don't follow the hype. So the hype is ChatGPT, keep going and thinking about all. The hype is TikTok, YouTube Shorts, all of them is hype because the people who are making a lot of money are the people creating it, not you, right? But for you, you have to identify, like Leland, you seem to have identified what is it that you can save, increase your content production, image creation without having to spend a lot of money with other people and also time, right? So that's exactly what you should do. And Ramon, my advice to you is you're probably trying to go the code developer route with vibe coding. I think there are much simpler ones like if you wanted to make a blog post from your YouTube video, which is well styled, extract some quotes from you, you can probably do it within 1 hour and it will be a good product.
I see. So using, just if we have time, I know, but to clarify, so not a Zapier, just to go on that. So you're saying I don't, and I do want to try the coding part, but to do that, I can still use vibe coding to do that. You're not talking about Zapier or the tools we all know in the formatting tools, not that.
I mean, if, for example, this may be useful for small businesses also. I don't look at my newsletters in my email, right? So I told Gemini every morning at 5 o'clock, give me business and tech news, give me news from India, give me news about marketing. Then I thought like, hey, this is an idea. One is, instead of reading all the newsletters, I get a summary. Why not just publish the summary? Okay. So then I told Gemini, give me the HTML code for Blogger, where I can just take it. I do need to look at the stories because sometimes the stories are repeated and Gemini says, oops, I'm sorry. But it takes me like 45 minutes, whereas it would have taken me 4 to 5 hours to
go through my email. It gives you the HTML to copy and paste that to another platform.
Yep.
Got it. So that I get, but I still, Shashi, and again, I know time is over here, but I still do want to try the coding side. Like, hey, make a simple code that you can have your computer just go beep, 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 beep every day at 3 p.m.
Probably not ready yet. Oh. It's not you.
I thought that was what vibe coding could do because it made it executable Anyhow, we'll talk later. Now we're getting. I can see Brent's
Yeah.
moving. He's like, Ramon and Shashi, shut up. I get it. We have a commercial.
I'm enjoying Ramon going so deep into this tech.
I'm trying, Brent. I'm really trying.
It's inspiring, actually.
But I'll give you something else inspiring, Brent, since it's Super Bowl Sunday. Remember, everybody, I'm the guy who was with his son during Super Bowl Sunday many years ago and said, son, why do they have to have the yellow line on the screen when we can see the guys with the red vest and the chain on the field? And he's eating chips. He's screaming and yelling. You know, he's like a brand like y'all, you know, in the sports and all this. He stopped. Dad, what? You know, because I was interested. Why they have to have this thing? He said, Dad. Probably in his head, he said, dummy. But he said, Dad, that yellow thing is only enough. That's computer graphics. And that opened up a whole nother question. Oh, they have graphics.
I'm just glad to see you bonding with your son over sports, man.
Yes,
that was a beautiful thing. And before we say goodbye, we can say hello to Tyler.
Hey, Tyler.
Hey,
Thank
Tyler.
you for joining us. I love this conversation. I didn't know where the hell this was going, but it really went in an interesting place. It'll be interesting to see what 2 years from now, where things are with this kind of conversation. Are we going to see more people actually building their own LLM farms and things like that, and to allow them to not pay as much on the other side of this thing? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But thanks for the conversation. Thanks for whoever was able to join us. Like I think we heard from somebody we hadn't seen before, Brian P. Swift, JD. All right.
Hey, Brian Swift is here. What's up? Brian P. Swift is amazing. He's like a ninja, man. That guy's a motivational speaker and more. Hey, Brian, thanks for being here. So I didn't say hello before. Our host didn't put it up in the screen. It's like,
you're just gonna out me. You're just gonna put it all on me. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Ron. I thought we were having a moment there until that, but damn. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us. Show up next week. It's Friday the 13th. What the hell could go wrong? We'll see. Have a great week. We'll
Thank you, everyone.